My name is Paul Sullivan, and I'm the founder of the Company of Dads. I want to tell you a little story about my previous life. There I was, laptop open, talking to a former White House cabinet official on the phone, typing away, listening to everything she had to say. The interview was going great. Now, I wasn't in the White House. I wasn't even in my office in New York City. I was sitting in a car out front of my daughter's ballet studio. I did this all the time, and I knew I had 37 minutes to complete this interview before I had to run upstairs and pick her up. Interview, it's going great. I'm asking questions, she's answering it. I think I'm going to get some really good stuff. Then my phone beeps. I look down. It's the pediatrician calling. Now, my wife is at work in the city. I'm in our Connecticut town. Who's got our other daughter at the pediatrician? My dad. My dad's great at driving. My dad is not great at asking doctors questions and remembering the answer. The rule we have for my dad is, when you take the girls to the doctor, call us. But I didn't expect he was going to call while I was on the phone with a former high-ranking White House official who's now the dean of a prestigious business school. Beep 1. I know I've got 4 beeps before voicemail swallows this call from the pediatrician. And I don't know how important the call is. Does my daughter have a rash? Does she have strep? Does she have some sort of infection? I'm only going to find this out if I can talk to the pediatrician. There was the second beep. High-ranking former cabinet official talking away. I'm typing, trying to make a decision. I hear the third beep, and I say, well, that's a really good point, and it reminds me, boom, hang up, mid-sentence, grab the pediatrician, listen to the call. Turns out, daughter's fine, just a little rash, nothing some cream can't take care of. Call takes, 4 or 5 minutes. All the while, this senior official is trying to call me back. I can see her number popping up. Hang up on the pediatrician, compose myself, deep breath, call her back, and I say, I'm really sorry about that. The town where I live, cell phone service is awful. Calls drop all the time. Anyway, where were we? We pick up the call, and we go from there. The interview turns out fine. The story turns out fine. And most of all, I didn't lie to her. I was sorry I had to drop the call. The cell phone service in my town is horrible. I just left out the part that I was the lead dad. I had to be there for my daughter in ballet. I had to be ready to talk to the pediatrician when he called, and I had to do my day job in the passenger seat of my car in front of the ballet studio. This is just one story of many stories in my life as a lead dad. Scenes like that define my life for the better part of 13 years. My first daughter was born in 2009, just a few months after I got my dream job as a columnist for the New York Times. I loved it. I never had any complaints. It was fantastic. At the same time, my wife, she had a job she loved. She was working really hard, advancing up the corporate ladder, doing well. Well, a couple years later, our second daughter arrived in 2012. Then, things got a little hairy. My wife had a falling out with her partner and ended up starting her own firm. Well, I'd always been the dad doing more of the parenting roles, but once she started her own firm, I became the full-on lead dad. I was the guy making the play dates. I was the guy making breakfast, lunch, dinner sometimes, ordering other times. I was the guy keeping control of all the things that our daughters wanted to do or were doing. I made sure they got to their activities. I made sure they got to their birthday parties. And all the while, though, this was a secret second job. I didn't tell anybody about it. I wasn't embarrassed. I love being the lead dad. I love going to ballet recitals. I love playing dolls with my girls. But I just didn't feel like it was something where I could tell the people in my town. A town where most of the men are go-to-work dads and most of the women stay home. That's fine. My wife and I, we were just a little different. She was running her own business, and I was a columnist for the New York Times. But I was also the lead dad. Again, an intensely rewarding job, but at times, I'll be honest, it was a little isolating. Picture this. I'm an avid golfer, At the end of a round of golf, I like to sit down with my friends and have a beer. Now, imagine me scrolling through that cell phone, and I see an email, and it catches my attention. God damn it, my daughter didn't get into ballet class. Can you really imagine me yelling this out in a room full of golfers? I mean, where golfers go to have a beer is always a profane place, let's be honest, but it's not a place where parenting is ever discussed. The only time parenting is discussed is if one of your children is in high school, headed off to college, or if one of your children is a star athlete. You're not really talking about the nitty-gritty of parenting. Well, that's what lead dads do. And I love doing it, and I was comfortable doing it, but like many things in this world, the COVID-19 pandemic allowed me to see my role as a lead dad differently. What do I mean by that? What I mean is the social distancing, the social isolation, it made me crave a community more than I'd ever craved before. I wasn't traveling for work. I wasn't meeting up with my buddies. I was working and being the lead dad. Again, intensely rewarding, but it got me thinking, if I'm craving a community, I wonder if there are other men out there craving the same thing. And that is the genesis for the Company of Dads. I wanted to create this community because I don't want it to be a secret anymore, or anything that's even mildly shameful for men to identify as lead dads. Because if we're to be honest, every other type of parent has a community already. Go to work dads have the men that they ride the train with, the men that they see for lunch or grab a drink with afterwards. Stay-at-home moms, well, they have community within their community. Maybe it's their kid's school. Maybe it's their house of worship. Maybe it's a charity they're involved in. Maybe it's a hobby that they love. Working moms like my wife, there are plenty of working mom groups out there, but at least her, she's pretty busy. Maybe she wants to see one of her working mom friends on the weekend, but maybe she wants to just hang out with her kids and me and our dogs. But lead dads, we're different because we're wired like every other man. We want community. We want to belong. We also want to feel that we're fulfilling our own potential in what we're doing. Be that focus full-time on being a parent, working part-time, and maneuvering our lead dad responsibilities around our work responsibilities, or having a really rigid schedule like I did as a columnist for the New York Times, like people do who work in healthcare or retail, a really rigid schedule that allows us to plan everything around our kids. Now, why is this community important? It's important right now because I believe it's going to help both men and women achieve their full potential. And in doing so, it's going to normalize a role that's brought me great joy, and in my case at least, it's brought my wife great relief. She's been able to build her business and not worry about what's going on at home. Now, if I'm going to be honest, there are some funny parts that have happened now and again. You know, just try to get on the list as the lead dad to be the first person called when your kid's sick. But we roll with it because we know we're setting an example for our kids, we're helping each other, and now, with the Company of Dads, I hope I can share what I've learned with other people. And in turn, they can share with me their experiences. And hopefully, through the Company of Dads, we'll do something that makes the world just a little bit better. To learn more, please visit thecompanyofdads.com and sign up for my newsletter. And remember, we're all in this together.